The rain had just started to fall in soft, cold drops, painting the street in a blur of reflections. I was leaning against my car, the engine still warm beneath my fingertips, when I saw her, standing there at the edge of the sidewalk, soaked but smiling like it didn't matter. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide and hopeful, and before I could even say anything, she asked, "Got room in your car? Can I hop in?" There was something in her voice, uneasy yet trusting, that made me want to say yes right away. I didn't hesitate. "Let's go somewhere," I told her, voice low, almost a whisper against the hum of the wet city around us. "Somewhere just you and me." She hesitated for a heartbeat, then climbed in. The door clicked shut behind her, sealing us into a small world, a bubble of quiet and tension amid the storm outside. Her breath fogged the window as she looked away, fingers fiddling nervously with the edge of her coat. I glanced over, catching that flicker of uncertainty beneath her brave smile. I could feel the electricity in the space between us. Not quite spoken, but pulsing in the air like the first note of a song about to start. Who was she really? Why had she come to me, here, now, in this rain-soaked moment? The question hung between us, heavier than the night air. I started the engine, and the car's headlights cut through the dark, wet streets. No destination planned, just the promise of somewhere away from everything we knew. The road stretched ahead, empty and full of possibility, but also shadowed by the unknown. Her eyes met mine again, and for a second I thought I saw a story in them. A story I was about to become a part of. But then, a sudden noise outside, something sharp, unsettling, made both of us jump. The moment cracked, and the mystery deepened. We were on the edge of something big, something neither of us could turn back from. And as the car rolled forward into the night, I knew that this was only the beginning. What would happen next? Would this ride bring us closer or tear everything apart? You don't want to miss what's coming. The car's tires whispered against the wet pavement as we pulled away from the curb. The rain was soft now, more like a mist, sliding off the windshield in thin sheets that the wipers chased away. Inside, the air felt thick with things left unsaid. I glanced over at her. She was staring out the window, watching the city lights blur into streaks. Her hands rested on her lap, fingers tapping lightly, almost nervously. I couldn't tell if it was because of the night, the rain, or something else entirely. There was a quiet strength about her, but beneath it, I sensed a vulnerability. "How did you find me?" I asked, breaking the silence. She smiled, a little shy, almost like she wasn't sure if she should answer. "You know," she said softly, "I guess I just followed a feeling." That sounded vague, but somehow it made sense. Sometimes, feelings don't need words. They just pull you forward, like a tide you can't fight. I remembered the first time we met. Not in this rain or mystery, but months ago at a coffee shop, when she accidentally spilled her drink on my notebook. I thought she'd apologize and rush away, but instead, she laughed, eyes sparkling with that same mixture of confidence and softness. "You should have seen your face," she'd said, grinning. That was the first time I noticed her laugh, bright and real. Stuck with me. "I never got your name back then," I said, now curious. She finally turned to look at me, her eyes catching the faint glow of the dashboard lights. "Maya," she said. "And you, Jake." We settled into a quiet rhythm. There was something comforting about her presence, even in the middle of this strange night. She wasn't just a stranger who'd asked for a ride. She was someone who seemed to understand the spaces in me that I usually kept locked tight. "So," I said, "what made you stand out there, in the rain of all places?" Maya looked down, then back up, biting her lip as if weighing how much to say. "I guess I needed a break, a real one, from everything, from people expecting things, from pretending to be okay when I'm not." Her words hit me harder than I expected. It was like she was speaking for both of us, Two people tired of masks and quiet struggles. Me too, I admitted. Sometimes it feels easier to just drive away. Pretend there's a place where things make sense. Her eyes softened, and I caught a flicker of something I couldn't name. Hope? Sadness? Maybe both. There was a pause, filled only by the soft hum of the engine and the occasional drip of rain from the roof. Then, almost too quietly to hear, she said, "Do you ever wonder if we're just running from what we're scared to face?" I nodded, feeling the weight of that question settle deep. All the time. Maya glanced over again, a slow smile creeping back onto her lips. Maybe that's why we're here, right now, in this car, in this moment. Maybe it's not about where we go, but who's beside us when we get there. Her words felt like a secret shared in the dark, fragile but powerful. I wanted to reach out, to tell her that I understood more than she realized. But instead, I just drove on. The streetlights flashed past, casting brief shadows on her face. Shadows that hid and revealed at the same time. I could tell she wasn't just a traveler looking for shelter. There was something more, something she wasn't ready to say yet. "So," I said, trying to keep my voice light, "what's the plan? Where do we go now?" Maya's fingers finally stopped their tapping. She looked down, then back at me with a half-smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But maybe that's okay. Maybe the point is just to keep moving, at least for a little while." That felt like a promise and a warning all at once. We were both on the edge of something new or maybe something dangerous, and the night wasn't finished with us yet. As I turned onto a quieter road, the car felt smaller, tighter, like the space between us was shrinking, filled with questions, fears, and a quiet hope neither of us dared speak aloud. The rain started again, softer this time, a gentle rhythm that matched the pounding in my chest. I stole one more glance at Maya. She was watching the road ahead, lips pressed together, eyes sharper now, like she was preparing for whatever was coming next. I didn't know where this ride would end, but I knew I wasn't alone, and somehow that made all the difference. The city behind us faded into darkness, and the road ahead twisted into mystery. And just like that, we were both caught between what we were running from and what we might find if we dared to stop. The road curved gently ahead, wrapped in shadows and the faint glow of distant streetlights. Inside the car, the silence stretched between us, comfortable and charged all at once. I kept my eyes on the road, but my mind was tangled in the way Maya's presence filled the space, like a whisper I couldn't quite hear but didn't want to ignore. She reached over, almost by accident, brushing her fingers against mine, resting on the gear shift. The touch was quick, almost shy, but it sent a jolt through me. I looked over, catching her eyes wide and searching, like she was asking a question without words. "Sorry," she said softly, pulling her hand back as if she'd crossed some invisible line. "No," I said, my voice low, steady. "It's okay." There was something about that moment, the way small gestures spoke louder than any confession. It felt fragile, like we were balancing on a thread stretched tight between trust and uncertainty. "Why did you really ask for a ride?" I finally asked, trying to keep my tone casual but honest. "There's something you're not telling me." She hesitated, fingers twisting a loose thread on her sleeve. "I guess I'm running from a lot of things. From mistakes, from people who don't understand me. From myself, maybe." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken pain. I wanted to reach out, to say something that would make it better, but the truth was, I didn't have the right words. Instead, I just nodded, letting the silence hold space for her. "You don't have to explain if you're not ready," I said gently. Maya looked at me then, and for a moment the walls she kept so carefully built seemed to crack. "It's not that simple," she said. "There's someone I'm supposed to meet, someone who's been waiting for me to fix things. But I'm scared I'll only break it worse." I caught the flicker of fear in her eyes, the same fear I recognized in myself when the past felt like a shadow too heavy to shake. Sometimes, I said slowly, fixing things means breaking other things first. She smiled sadly, looking away. Yeah, I guess that's what scares me most. We drove on, the city fading behind us, replaced by open road and the quiet hum of tires on asphalt. The night felt alive around us, filled with secrets neither of us dared speak out loud. Then, without warning, the car jolted, something sharp scraping beneath the chassis. I pulled over quickly, heart pounding. What was that? Maya asked, eyes wide. I stepped out, flashlight in hand, checking under the car. A nail, maybe a shard of metal, was stuck in the tire. Great. We're going to be here for a while, I said, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. You okay waiting in the car? She nodded, but I saw her shiver when the cold air caught her. I grabbed a blanket from the back seat and wrapped it around her shoulders. Better? I asked. She smiled, and it was genuine this time. Yeah, thanks. We sat there, the car quiet except for the rain now pattering steadily on the roof. In the dark, close and warm under the blanket, something shifted between us. She leaned a little closer, and I felt the weight of the moment pressing down, like everything was waiting to spill over. Do you ever regret taking risks? She asked suddenly, voice barely above a whisper. I thought about it. Maybe, but some risks are worth it, even if you don't know where they'll lead. She looked at me then, searching my face. What if the risk is losing yourself? I swallowed hard, knowing that question was the one I'd been avoiding too. Then maybe you find out who you really are. A silence fell again, but it was softer now, like the night itself was holding its breath with us. But just when I thought we might finally cross the line between strangers and something more, Maya pulled back slightly, tension flickering in her eyes. I should tell you, she said, voice tight. There's more to why I'm here, why I asked for a ride. My heart thudded. What is it? She hesitated, biting her lip. I can't say yet. Not yet. But you need to know that things are complicated. Complicated how? I pressed, wanting to understand, wanting to help. She shook her head. I'm afraid if I say, it'll change everything between us. And maybe I'm not ready for that. I wanted to tell her that I didn't care about the complications, that I was here no matter what, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I reached out and took her hand again, holding on tighter this time. Whatever it is, I said quietly, we'll face it together. Her eyes filled with something like hope, but also doubt. That sounds nice, she whispered. But what if you don't really mean it? I mean it, I said, my voice steady. At least for now. The rain kept falling, and the night grew colder. Outside, the city was a distant glow swallowed by darkness. Inside the car, two people sat close, tangled in secrets and silent promises, caught between what was said and what remained hidden. We were on a road with no clear destination, chasing something we couldn't name. And as the tire spun slowly under the weight of the night, I realized that the real journey was just beginning. Would we find a way through the shadows? Or would the secrets between us pull everything apart? The answer was waiting somewhere ahead, in the dark, in the silence, in the space just beyond reach. The rain had eased to a gentle drizzle when I finally managed to change the tire. My hands were cold, the night air biting through my jacket. When I climbed back into the car, Maya was sitting quietly, wrapped in the blanket, eyes tracing the blurred streetlights outside. The soft tapping of rain on the roof mixed with the distant hum of the city. It felt like the world had shrunk down to just the two of us in this small, warm space, isolated from everything else. For a moment, the silence wasn't empty. It was heavy with things waiting to be said. I glanced over at her, catching the way the dashboard light made her face glow softly, the way her lashes flickered with every blink, and the faint crease of worry between her brows. "You okay?" I asked, my voice low. She hesitated before nodding, but there was something fragile in the way she breathed out. "Yeah, I just never expected tonight to go like this." "Neither did I admitted, shifting in my seat. The heat from the heater wrapped around us, but the chill in the air still clung to my skin. Maya's fingers twitched on the blanket. "Jake, can I ask you something?" "Of course." She bit her lip, like she was gathering courage. "Do you ever feel like you're hiding parts of yourself, even from the people closest to you?" I looked away for a moment, the question catching me off guard. "Yeah. Sometimes the parts you keep hidden feel safer than the parts you show." Her eyes locked onto mine, searching. "I feel that way a lot, like there's this whole other side of me that no one really knows. Not even myself, maybe." It was like she was holding back a storm, but the edges of it were already breaking through. I wanted to reach out, to tell her it was okay to let it out, but I also sensed she wasn't ready. Not yet. The quiet between us stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was something raw and real. Cleared my throat. "Why don't you want to tell me what's really going on?" She swallowed hard. "Because if I do, it might change everything between us. And I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of change." Her words sent a ripple through me, like the first crack in a dam. I wanted to ask what she meant, but I could see the weight behind them. Sometimes, secrets aren't just about hiding, they're about protecting. The car's heater clicked on again, and the warmth wrapped around us. Outside, the world was quiet, the rain turning the streets into dark ribbons reflecting the city's scattered lights. I reached out again, this time placing my hand gently over hers. "You don't have to be ready right now, but maybe just trust me a little." Her breath hitched. For a moment, she didn't pull away. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Scared that if I tell you, you'll see me differently. Or worse, leave." I squeezed her hand softly. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The words hung in the air, like a promise made in the dark. Then, without warning, her phone buzzed sharply on the dashboard, breaking the fragile moment. She glanced at it, jaw tightening as she read the message. "What is it?" I asked, heart suddenly pounding. "Nothing," she said quickly, hiding the screen from me, but her hands trembled. "Nothing doesn't usually come with a look like that." She hesitated, then shook her head. "It's complicated. Someone from my past." The tension in the car thickened. I wanted to ask more, but I didn't want to push her away. "Maybe you should call them back," I said gently. "No," she said, voice firm. "Not yet. I'm trying to keep that part of my life separate from this. For now." I nodded, even though the doubt gnawed at me. How long could the silence last before the truth spilled out? And what would happen when it did? Maya's eyes met mine again, softer this time. "Jake, I'm glad you stopped." "Me too," I said. "But now I'm wondering, where do we go from here?" She smiled a little sadly. "I don't have an answer yet, but maybe the journey is about figuring that out." The city lights flickered as we drove on, and the night seemed to hold its breath with us, caught between what was said and what was waiting to be revealed. I stole one more glance at Maya. Her face was quiet, almost peaceful, but I could see the storm beneath the surface. The fear, the hope, the uncertainty. We were on the edge of something real and fragile, balanced between trust and doubt, between running away and facing what comes next. And as the road stretched ahead into the unknown, I knew one thing for sure. This night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The question was, were we ready for what was coming? The road ahead was quiet, lined with tall trees that whispered in the wind, their shadows stretching across the wet pavement like fingers reaching out. The car's heater hummed softly, a warm contrast to the chill outside. Maya sat beside me, wrapped in the blanket, her gaze flickering between the window and the dashboard, like she was caught between the present and some distant thought. Just as I was about to break the silence, her phone buzzed again. Louder this time, sharper. She glanced at it quickly, her face tightening like she'd been punched. "Who is it?" I asked carefully, watching her closely. She hesitated, fingers trembling slightly as she silenced the phone. "It's someone I thought I left behind," she said, voice barely above a whisper. My heart tightened. "You don't have to tell me if it's too much." She shook her head, biting her lip. "No, you deserve to know. But it's complicated." The way she said it made me brace for something I wasn't ready for. Before I could ask more, the phone buzzed again. A call this time. Maya's hand hovered, frozen above the screen. "Do you want to answer it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked at me, eyes wide, torn. "I don't know." The tension between us thickened, almost suffocating. Finally, she pressed decline and slipped the phone back into her coat pocket. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "I didn't want this to come between us." I reached out, resting my hand over hers. "It's not coming between anything unless you let it." For a moment, we sat there, the warmth of the car contrasting with the cold storm of emotions swirling between us. But then, out of nowhere, the car's headlights caught a figure stepping onto the road ahead. I slammed the brakes, heart pounding. Maya gasped, clutching my arm. "Who is that?" I squinted through the rain. The figure stepped forward, a man's silhouette against the dim streetlight. He raised his hand, not threatening but urgent. "Jake," Maya whispered, voice trembling. "That's him." My breath caught. "Him?" She nodded, eyes wide with fear and something else I couldn't name. The man's figure grew clearer as he approached the car. When he reached the window, I rolled it down just a crack. "We need to talk," the man said, eyes locked on Maya. "It's important." Maya's hands clenched into fists. "Not here," she said firmly. "Please." He looked at me, then back at her. "It's about what you left behind. About what you're running from." My heart sank. Whatever this was, it was bigger than either of us had imagined. "I think we need to go," Maya said, voice shaking but determined. I nodded, hitting the gas gently, pulling away from the man's outstretched hand. The car accelerated, tires skimming over the wet road. Maya exhaled sharply, then turned to me. "I should have told you sooner," she said, voice heavy. "But I was scared you wouldn't understand." "Try me," I said, keeping my eyes on the road but feeling the weight of the moment. She swallowed hard. "The man you just saw, his name is Eric. He's someone from my past, someone I thought I left behind." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. "What kind of past?" Maya hesitated, eyes distant. "A messy one. One with mistakes and promises broken. I was supposed to meet him tonight to fix things. But when I saw him, everything changed." "Why?" I asked gently. "Because part of me doesn't want to fix it. Part of me just wants to run." Her confession hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. I glanced over at her, seeing the fear and doubt swirling in her eyes. "You don't have to run," I said. "Not tonight." She looked at me then, searching for something. Hope, maybe, or reassurance. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," she whispered. The car fell silent again. The only sounds the steady drip of rain and the hum of the engine. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A message from an unknown number. "Stop her. Don't let her get away." My blood ran cold. I showed Maya. Her face went pale. "Eric's not the only one," she said quietly. "There are others. People who want to keep me where I was." The distance between us grew, filled with shadows neither of us could see. "Why didn't you tell me any of this before?" I asked, voice rough. "Because I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid that if I did, I'd lose you." I swallowed the knot in my throat. And now I'm not sure if I can keep running, or if I want to stop. The road ahead was dark and winding, and so was the path between us. But one thing was clear. Nothing tonight would be simple anymore. We were caught in a web of secrets and dangers, and the choice to face it together or let it tear us apart was fast approaching. The question was, could we trust each other enough to find out? The rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy with dampness and the faint scent of wet earth. The car's headlights cut through the thick darkness as we drove deeper into the night, away from the city lights and the man who had suddenly crashed into our fragile bubble. Inside, the tension between Maya and me was thick enough to taste. She sat stiffly beside me, fingers clenched tightly in her lap, jaw set like she was holding back something fierce. I stole a glance at her, her eyes dark pools of fear and determination. I wanted to reach out, to break down the walls that had been building all night, but the moment felt charged, delicate, as if the slightest wrong move could shatter everything. Finally, I broke the silence. Maya, you don't have to face this alone. Her eyes met mine, searching, hesitant. Then she shook her head, as if trying to shake off invisible chains. I've been alone for so long, Jake. I'm not sure I even know how to let someone in. Then let me try, I whispered, voice barely audible over the hum of the engine. Her breath caught, and the silence that followed stretched between us like a fragile thread. Then, slowly, she reached across the console, her hand brushing mine. The touch was light but electric, an unspoken promise hanging between us. I don't want to run anymore, she said softly, but I'm terrified of what happens if I stop. I nodded, my heart pounding. Sometimes the scariest thing is standing still, but you won't have to do it by yourself. We drove on, the road winding like a question mark into the unknown. I could feel Maya's hand tighten around mine, a silent anchor in the storm of uncertainty. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, jolting me. I pulled it out. Another message from the unknown number. You don't know what she's hiding. Watch your back. I swallowed hard and showed Maya the screen. Her face paled. There's more, she admitted, voice trembling. Something I haven't told you. Something I buried deep. Now's the time, I urged. I'm here. She took a shaky breath, eyes fixed on the dashboard. Years ago, before tonight, I was involved in something dangerous. I thought I left it all behind, but it's not that simple. Eric is connected, but there's someone else, someone who doesn't want me free. The weight of her words crushed the air between us. I swallowed the knot rising in my throat. Who? She hesitated, then whispered, My brother. The silence hit like a punch. My brother, I repeated, stunned. Yeah, she said, voice breaking. He's tangled in things I can't explain, things I tried to protect you from. But he's the reason I'm running, the reason Eric found me. I didn't know what to say. The pieces of her story were shifting beneath us, the ground more unstable than I ever imagined. Then, without warning, headlights appeared behind us, close, too close. The car was following, persistent. Maya's eyes widened. They found us. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Hold on. The chase was on. We sped down the empty highway, the second car closing fast. My heart hammered, the hum of the engine drowned out by the pounding in my chest. Maya leaned toward me, voice urgent but calm. There's a place not far ahead. An old cabin I used to go to when things got bad. Maybe we can lose them there. I nodded, turning off the highway onto a narrow, twisting road flanked by towering pines. The car behind us hesitated at the turn, then followed. As we neared the cabin, a sense of desperate hope mixed with dread settled in the car. Maya's hands trembled as she fumbled with her coat pocket, pulling out a small, worn key. This cabin, she said, voice thick with memory. It's the only place I felt safe. Maybe it still is. We pulled into the gravel driveway, the cabin looming in the darkness like a silent guardian. I killed the engine, and for a moment, nothing but our ragged breathing filled the car. Then Maya turned to me, eyes fierce and vulnerable all at once. "Jake, if we don't make it out of this, if they catch us, I want you to know, I'm glad it's you here with me." My throat tightened. "Maya, I'm not going anywhere. We'll get through this." Her gaze dropped, a flicker of something unspoken passing between us. A confession almost there, but not quite. Suddenly, a sharp noise cracked through the night, footsteps crunching on gravel. We froze. "Hide," Maya whispered. We slipped out of the car, shadows melting into the night as the approaching figures drew closer. Inside the cabin, the air was thick with dust and silence, the only light coming from the faint moonbeam filtering through cracked windows. We barricaded the door and pressed our backs against the wall, breaths shallow, hearts pounding in sync. The footsteps stopped outside. A voice low cold called out, "Maya, you don't have to do this." Her reply was firm but trembling. "I have to." Then the door rattled under pressure. My hand found hers in the dark, fingers intertwining tightly. In that moment, all the fear, all the doubts, all the unsaid feelings exploded inside me. "Maya," I said, voice cracking, "I don't care about the past or the danger. I just want you to know." Before I could finish, a sudden noise from behind startled us. A window shattered. The room flooded with moonlight and shadows as figures moved in the doorway. But then, from the darkness, a familiar voice called out sharply, "Stop!" The intruders froze. Maya's eyes widened. "Jake!" I turned, heart in my throat, to see someone stepping into the cabin. Someone I never expected. And just like that, everything changed again. The night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The figure who stepped into the cabin was tall, eyes sharp but not unkind. It was Eric, the man from Maya's past, the one who'd chased us through the night. His gaze flicked between Maya and me, then softened. "Jake," he said quietly, "I'm not here to hurt you." My heart hammered, but I kept my voice steady. "Then why are you chasing us?" Eric took a slow breath. "Because there's more going on than you know. Maya's brother, he's in deep trouble. Dangerous people are involved, and if she gets caught up in it, it won't just hurt her. It'll hurt everyone around her." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to drag you into this." Eric shook his head. "You didn't drag anyone, but you can't keep running forever." I looked at Maya, seeing the weight of years of fear and hope crashing down at once. "What do we do now?" I asked. Eric stepped closer, earnest. "We face it. Together." Maya swallowed hard, then nodded slowly. "I want to stop running." The cabin's silence stretched between us, charged with a fragile hope. Eric reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This has information about the people after your brother. If we act fast, maybe we can put an end to it." Maya took the paper, hands trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. For the first time in what felt like forever, she looked at me with something close to peace. "Jake, I'm sorry for everything I kept from you. But tonight, I realized I don't have to be afraid anymore." I smiled softly, squeezing her hand. "You never had to be alone." Outside, the first light of dawn was brushing the horizon, soft pink and gold bleeding into the dark. We left the cabin together, a strange trio bound by past shadows and the promise of a new day. Over the next days, with Eric's help, Maya faced the tangled mess her brother had left behind. It wasn't easy. There were moments of fear, anger, and heartbreak. But each step forward was a choice to reclaim her life. And through it all, I stayed by her side. The night we drove away from the cabin, the city was waking up beneath a sky streaked with early sunlight. Maya reached over and squeezed my hand. I don't know what the future holds, she said quietly, but I know I want to face it with you. I smiled, heart full. Me too. There was no perfect ending, no magic fix for the scars or the secrets. But there was something stronger. Trust, hope, and the courage to be seen, fully and without apology. As the car rolled forward, windows down to catch the fresh morning air, I looked over at Maya, the person who had once been a stranger asking for a ride, and now someone who held a place deep inside me. And I knew whatever came next, we wouldn't be running anymore. We were finally going home.